welcome to another episode on the Zine Experience. Today we're having another meaningful conversation with my new bestie, Hannah.
I love that.
Yeah. I love having these conversations with people who are doing amazing things in their lives. And Hannah and I have had a beautiful conversation. I felt like we could go on forever. So you may have to stop me.
Okay, I'm warned. Mhm.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you serve, and then get into a little conversation.
All right, a little chit chat. Well, I'm a couples therapist and I specialize in high conflict relationships. And so, really, just what that means is that the couples that I deal with tend to be really kind of intense in how they fight. They tend to be very passionate, and that oftentimes they're kind of on the brink. They feel like maybe a sense of hopelessness or despair. And so I'm allowed to kind of go in, and my goal is to help stabilize them and to help them understand themselves and each other more, and to see if they can move forward in a way that feels happy and healthy.
That's beautiful. And I absolutely love that. My passion is around relationship repair, as we've talked about. And I love talking to another person who can understand some of the concept that I also I'm sharing and teaching and want everybody to know about. I feel that we've heard this saying a lot that we thrive in relationship. Relationships are our
Mhm.
biggest teachers. It's sad when I see a relationship that has so much potential
Mhm.
end up going down the drain, so to speak, because in moments of those disconnection, that's where it's difficult to come back to one another. Is that stuff that you are also experiencing?
Yeah, it's so hard. And it hurts me to see it when couples really get to that point of giving up. And I work really hard to help them find each other and see each other. But sometimes, it's been 10 years of conflict and hurting each other. And sometimes people do things that are irreparable.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of scorekeeping that can happen. I mean, there's we can go down a whole list of things, but I wanted to talk to you specifically about this belief that I have and how it's showed up in my life. So, the belief is that when things get hard, people leave. When I say that statement, I also feel it in my body because it immediately, the accountability part of me goes, "Oh, remember when you did that very thing?" So it's not only that I witness it, I also experience it. And that has led me to discover a lot of really great things about myself because I started to learn about what is it about the hard. So for you in the world that you're in, what happens in relationships when things get hard and why do people stay while others leave?
Great question. And, a lot of different things happen. I think, first of all, maybe just setting the scene, right? Like when we're humans entering a relationship, we're so vulnerable and we often don't even recognize our own vulnerability. And so we're coming in, and oftentimes we have been waiting for this person our whole lives, right? All of us are kind of wired to long for a relationship. And when we get into a relationship, it's usually really exciting. What I see happen is that oftentimes a few different patterns happens. One is stress enters the relationship, and people might manage stress in very different ways. Like one person might pull away to manage stress, while the other person maybe wants more reassurance or needs more contact to manage stress. And so they start to clash. Another thing is that we start to assume, right? When we're in those early years, early months, we're so excited to get to know each other. We have all the questions, right? We're curious. When we get into a relationship and it's been a couple of years, we don't have that same curiosity. We don't have that same openness. And instead, we start to fill in the blanks. And that's one of the biggest things that I see that leads to conflict is that we all do it and we have to do it. It's a survival strategy. But oftentimes we do it and we're erring on the edge of, we're erring on safety. And so that means that okay, what's the worst that could happen here? That might be what's happening right now. And we prepare. And when we do that, sometimes we're experiencing things very differently than our partners. And that's kind of, I think, what's so hard for couples to grasp is how two people can experience a situation so differently.
That's so true. In my experience, I've noticed that there was times when I would get upset and I would just lash out. My sabotage have always been to get angry and scream. So after I calmed down, I would have some clarity, and then my ex-husband and I and my children, or so, we would talk about it, and we'd kind of come back to center. But
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, I said a lot of hurtful things. There's a lot of emotional impact that's happened that's never really gotten a chance to be acknowledged. I just needed them to hear that
Mm-hmm.
I was sorry, and that wasn't how I wanted to behave, and that's not how I wanted things to end up going. And they're calm and okay, but it still left some damage. And then on the
Mm-hmm.
receiving end of it, I'm not the person that would leave. I'm the person that would stay because I'm so either codependent, or and I don't even know what that means. I have inner child wounds and I don't know what that means, or I'm just so desperate for love. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said earlier, sometimes we want it so badly, so it's like, oh my gosh, I never want to leave this thing. But then I
Mm-hmm.
also grew up watching a lot of Bollywood movies, which is very over the top romantic. So it's like you fight for love. You don't give up when you feel that connection with someone. You go through the hard together.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, that hard can be really, really devastating and hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And for others, it could just be an offering of love because this is what it is. But either way, there's so much needs that are being unmet there. So it could feel it just is hard. I mean, go back to the question, right? What happens when things
Mm-hmm.
get hard? So those are some of the things that I've experienced based on what you're sharing, and that totally resonates with me and
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So in those moments where something shifts and it starts to feel hard, what do you think makes it feel safe enough for someone to stay versus feeling
Mm-hmm.
like they need to leave?
Well, I think one thing is, what is the template that we're coming into relationships with,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you grew up where there was a lot of chaos and fighting, your system might be used to chaos and fighting. And so your threshold for hard is going to be different. Or you might be so kind of hyper vigilant to chaos and fighting, you might leave early, right? We have kind of different responses. Either we proximity seek or we distance seek to get to safety. And so I think that, what is your belief system? What is your experience? If you believe love is going to be hard, and you work through it, and then that's part of love, then you'll probably stay longer. If you believe love should be easy, you're probably not going to stay very long. And what did you experience growing up, right? Did you experience parents that worked hard and that fought through things? Or did you experience parents that gave up easily? Or did you come from a single parent home? And so you've created your own image of what relationships look like. I think, my husband and I, he grew up in a single parent home. And so his idea of marriage was not that it would be this hard. Where my idea of marriage is, it's really hard. I'm prepared for this, right? Like, this is normal. And he thinks it's not normal. And so it's also kind of navigating that and navigating at the same time what feels okay for you, right? I don't think normal is what we should go off of. I think normal is oftentimes what we do go off of, but I think we should go off of, are we able to hold on to ourselves, and is there movement in the right direction?
I do believe, in my experience with my children, my most prideful relationships, even when it's hard, I feel like we now have the emotional safety that's there because we've worked through a lot of the hard, and we know that we're all growing and it's not going to be perfect. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're going to mess up, but we always come back to each other, and we come back with presence, we come back with empathy, and all of this care.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time where I would go into relationships, and or just when I say relationships, not necessarily romantic, but we can
Mm-hmm.
give those. I would use it as an escape, or I would use it because I was afraid of being alone. So when I'm in this relationship now, I don't even know what safety is. I just know that I'm clinging on to this person, or this idea of love, or the potential that I see, whether it's in my head or within the person. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also this dynamic where I learned from, I don't know who I learned this from, but whenever you're out of a relationship, and I think this is something that people can do as couples too, not just out of a relationship. Write down your goals together.
Mm,
What is it that I want from a partner? What do I want from my friends, my job, my home life? What do I want in general? Who do I want to be? And so
mm,
I kind of made this diagram with circles and I separate all of them. And when it came to the relationship, I want devotion, I want loyalty, I want trust. I want to feel important, to feel belonged, significant. These are all relational needs that I want from someone else. But I first learned that I need to be able to give that to me before I can give that to a partner, or before I can accept or go into a relationship from a partner, because I don't know what they also want, but I know how I'm
mhm,
going to show up for
mhm.
me. Now, I think couples doing this together, it's a really good way of really aligning with one another and going deeper, or even having a bonding activities. What are your thoughts on some of that?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I think really anything where you're sitting down and having a conversation intentionally outside of conflict is good for your relationship. So often we wait until conflict to talk about
Yeah.
these things and, we're dysregulated and it doesn't go well. And then we don't bring it up because we don't think it's going to go well. So I think really any kind of exercise where you're understanding each other better, you're slowing down, you're being curious. I do think one thing that kind of that brings up is our expectations in relationship, and when it comes to staying or leaving. And I think that that can be tricky when we walk in with expectations in a relationship. And it's not that we shouldn't. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But I am saying to be curious about them and to maybe zoom out and to also ask, like, what is human, what can we actually expect of someone,
Yeah.
and given what the world is asking of us these days.
Can you give a little bit of an example of that, if you could?
Yeah. So give an example of kind of what that can look like in a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So oftentimes we come in and we don't even recognize what our expectations and hopes are. I think that's step one. But if we do, maybe we hope we're going to feel connected with our partner, and we're going to feel like we can rely on our partner, and we're going to feel like we can trust our partner. And then what happens is our partner makes a mistake. And maybe they don't tell us something because they don't want to hurt us, right? Or our partner gets really stressed out and work isn't going well and they start to pull away because they feel like a failure. And then we start to think, okay, my needs aren't being met, right? My partner isn't pulling away. And then we try and go after and get those needs. Now, oftentimes the way we go after and get those needs actually creates a situation where we are less likely to get those needs. Not because our partner is being stubborn, but because our partner is not getting a clear signal. Oh, I want to feel closer to you. Our partner is getting a signal, you're doing something wrong. I'm mad at you. You're disappointing. You betrayed me. And so, what happens when any of us get that message from our partner? I certainly don't step forward. I certainly don't go closer.
Yeah.
Right? I go into a shame spiral and pull away and don't want to be seen. So I think it's, all of this is to say, I think our culture has changed a lot regarding relationships and regarding the messaging. And a lot of times it's not stay and make it work anymore. It's leave if it's not working.
Yeah.
And if your needs aren't being met, leave. There's so many more options out there. The barrier to leaving has gotten smaller, right?
Yeah.
It's easier for us to leave. And so I think noticing that, talking about that, recognizing how that impacts how you think and how you operate in your relationship.
Yeah. And I love this. It of course resonates with me because my belief system is that we do personal development. I did personal development so that I can learn how I am sabotaging my own life. And that also means that I need to pay attention to how my behavior affects other people. And when I have an unmet need, what do I make that mean in that moment? Because
Mm,
I can have a relationship and 90% of it is just really amazing and wonderful. but there's this like 10% of it where I, whenever I'm arguing and I'm not feeling heard, and that's when my nervous system starts to do its craziness, and my thoughts are saying, see, they're gonna leave, they, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna either overextend or I'm gonna pull away. And in the past, it's lash out, cuss you out, and then pull away, and then come
Mhm.
back 3 days later and say, I'm so sorry. But the damage
Mhm.
was already done. So then I learned that, okay, wow, I have created some beliefs around this for a very, very long time. And I'm allowing someone to treat me this way, and I shouldn't, and I should set boundaries. But then I also learned that my boundaries were walls, they were not bridges,
Mhm.
they were a full stop. And I think that's where I have felt the brunt of that disconnection, because now there's a boundary. You do what you do. You do what you need to do to take care of you. I do what I need to take care of me. But
Mhm.
now, what happened to the relational need? Because we still made relational promises that we're going to show up for each other. We're going to do this thing together. And again, I'm saying this consciously, but it's not so conscious when
In the
you're
moment.
in the moment. So it's
Yeah.
like in the moment, who we think we are, that's not who shows up. In the
Right.
moment, it is, I'm angry. I want to feel heard. You're not listening to me. You never listen to me. You always treat me this way. And it gets, like you said, it gets into that spiral. And for me, it's mostly that blame spiral. I'm internally blaming and shaming myself for how I'm showing up,
Mhm.
because I felt like I was always the saboteur. But there's so much that we don't, I don't think that we talk about when it comes to relationships and how to make them work. Personal
Mhm.
development is me forgiving myself and my father or my mother or somebody that I felt wronged me, so that when I'm in conflict with someone else or something's uncomfortable, I'm not subconsciously channeling that energy that I need to blame that
Mhm.
parent or that caregiver or whoever it is that's coming up
Mhm.
in that moment. And I feel like that's something that's not really talked about a lot. We really do a good job at keeping ourselves separated and protect our energy, which
Mhm.
that doesn't form relationships.
Right, right. No, absolutely. There's so much you just said that I think is really important. That is one of the things that has really changed culturally, is that we do, whenever I work with an individual therapist and I'm a couples therapist, oftentimes the individual therapist is giving advice that's kind of like, well, you don't need to put up with that, or they don't respect you, or right? It's this very kind of harsh jump to boundaries. You got to set boundaries. You got to set boundaries. And I'm all for boundaries, but they're not an answer to everything. And boundaries aren't going to teach us how to work through hard conversations. And if we want relationships, we have to practice, and we have to be able to slow down and work with our own emotional experiences in those moments, and to reach our partner in a more vulnerable way, which means talking about ourselves, talking about the parts of us that most of us don't want to talk about, right? I'm scared. I'm hurt. I feel insecure. I'm sad.
Yeah. And that's so, I mean, you're touching on some really good points, because I think like what was what was underneath there for me, it's okay, I have an argument, I
Mm-hmm.
yell, scream, and then I come back, and then we get back to normal. But now we need to go underneath, well, why didn't I feel heard? Why didn't
Mm-hmm.
I feel supported? How was I asking for that? Was that something that was being given to me and I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
able to even receive it? There's so much emotional needs and relationship needs that's underneath that. And
Mm-hmm.
we if we continue to set boundaries as I need to take care of myself only, then we don't go to that other layer. We just stay in this surface level, and a relationship is ruined or a connection is ruined, and we have to go on a healing journey, and which is
Mm-hmm.
a blessing sometimes. I feel like there's a
Mm-hmm.
new way that we can look at it. We don't have to go in with the shame and the anger and the fight. We can do this from curiosity and still have the same outcome.
It's the only way, I think, actually. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think we can really change from a place where we are condemning ourselves or criminalizing ourselves. I think that when we humanize ourselves, we humanize others.
Yeah.
And most of, aggression, yelling, anger, that's a function of fear. And so it's really recognizing I'm a scared person and I have, of course, I'm scared, right? Like, this is my relationship. And in this
Hmm.
moment, there's something that means a whole lot to me. And I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to slow down and find out and put words to my fear so that next time, maybe instead of yelling, I can say, this is one of those times where I'm getting really scared.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you said that's so clear to name. I read a lot that it's there's only two emotion. Well, there's only one emotion, but two because it's love and fear, and fear is the absence of love. And I thought that that is such a powerful way of looking at it. And if we do talk about that fear and vulnerability, really just bring us together because it's there's this difference between rescuing and saving and
Mm-hmm.
trauma bonding and the other side of co-regulating. I think that's just something that has become so foreign that everything is being labeled as you're codependent or you are, and not to say
Yeah.
that that isn't true. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
when we get into conflict, so much of the love is missing out, and here's all these beautiful experiences that we can have, but
Mm-hmm.
we got upset and we decided to make a decision in that moment, and that decision caused a great disconnection.
Yeah, yeah. I really appreciate what you're naming right now. Kind of that rescuing, saving, trauma bonding, and how I think because of this language, we've pathologized a lot of
Hmm.
what we do in relationships, good or bad, right or wrong. We now are really quick to say, oh, that's trauma bonding, or I shouldn't have to deal with my partner's emotions. They should be able to self regulate on their own, right? These like very harsh black and white lines. And there's usually a lot more nuance to being a human being. And co regulating is much easier on our bodies than self regulating. It takes, I think, 7 times more glucose in our brain to self regulate than it does to co regulate. But the other part of it is that we need to learn to tolerate our partner having pain, whether or not we agree with it. And so often when I hear someone saying, like, I shouldn't have to rescue them, I shouldn't have to do this, it's wait, but you care about this person, right? Okay, so this person is saying they're hurting. You don't have to agree with their hurt, but can you care about their hurt?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking about as you were sharing that too, because like I think in my I do a lot of inner child work. So for me, whenever there's an unmet need, I think about what that person's emotional needs are. And they may not even know about it because we were never taught emotional needs as children.
Right.
Our parents didn't know. It's important for us to acknowledge what need was missing in a moment because then it comes back up. So
Mm-hmm.
what is underneath that? And then as a mom and I had messed up so much, and it's like taking accountability, not from shame, but ownership, and saying, okay, let me do this differently now.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for me to see that, oh, my child is dysregulated. My child needs safety. And like you said, caring. That's when I am on the receiving end of a disconnection. I just want to know that I'm still loved and cared about it. I'm not going to be betrayed. I'm not going, whatever I'm sharing right now is not going to be used against me later on. And I think there's a fine line between personal development and healing, because personal development I feel can get to that place where it's like, oh, you have patterns. This is how
Mm-hmm.
you're bringing another relationship into this. When it's a
Mm-hmm.
pattern that's coming into it, it just shows up in relationship. It is not
Mm-hmm.
about the other. I mean, again, there's so much that we can go into with that. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel really connected to how you shared that, and I love the way that you said it too. Um, in your experience and what you're seeing with couples, what makes relationship feel hard even when there is love? I feel like we kind of talked about it. I just kind of want to address
Yeah.
the.
I mean, I think it's stress is a huge one. And I think, we live in a much more demanding world in terms of being on the go, never being able to slow down. But I also think that it's often just misinterpretation.
Yeah.
It's, as innocent as that. I can't tell you how often I've sat with people that are so firm in how they see things and so sure that their partner is a villain.
Yeah.
When, from an outside perspective, their partner actually might be trying really hard, but for some reason, or for a lot of reasons, it doesn't code as them trying, right? Like it's not sending the clear signals that you need because trying can look really different to different people.
Yeah. And I think in that trying, what comes up for me is effort. When we are not able to, first of all, receive, but also see that this is effort that someone is putting in. When
Mm-hmm.
I am leaving my kids at home during a stressful time so that I can make sure that I'm driving an hour and a half to meet my partner because this was a pre-planned date, I'm taking a pretty big risk to spend time
Mm-hmm.
together. I don't want to say, look at all of the things that I've done for you, but I at least want you to like that's effort. This is love
Mm-hmm.
that's coming. And being
Mm-hmm.
able to receive that effort too. It's like I tend to put myself on both sides of it to see what I'm giving and see how I'm receiving as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like when people do that together. You know, I will say that there's a couple relationships that I've had where I've, you know, in retrospect I look back on the experience, and then there's one that I was present in it. So it's what I notice is that, well, this person that I was experiencing, they had a lot of resentment towards their father. And whenever we got into any disconnection and I would try to have a conversation, their responses, well, that may not have been your intention, but it's still how you behave.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that doesn't offer any love, any compassion, any grace,
Mm-hmm.
or any chance to be in relationship. It just, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good. So
Mm-hmm.
now the next time there's another disconnection, I'm now worried, okay, my behavior said this. So no matter what, this is
Mm-hmm.
how they're going to view me. And no matter what corrections I made, that still kept wrapping around and coming up. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I know that that belief is coming from their experience as a child because that's what their father taught them. That's how their father showed up for them. That's how they were made to feel that change behavior is the apology, not the words, not the compassion, not the love.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's such a disconnection. There's hardly any room to
Right.
reconnect after that. And in those moments it's like, okay, there's no staying in repair here. There's no safety here. But now all
Mm-hmm.
of this love gets thrown out the window because the mindset is that, well, you are taking care of your emotional needs and I'm taking care of my emotional needs. So however I treat you, that's up to you to decide, and you're still staying, so that's on you. And in those
Mm-hmm.
situations, where's the love now? That's all
Mm-hmm.
fear, like you were saying. That is
Mm-hmm.
all a fear response. How do you
Mm-hmm.
even navigate that? Like, what are some ways that you could navigate that?
Well, so I'm an emotionally focused couples therapist. And so what I would do is maybe slow down in session. You know, it's different if I'm giving people advice on how to work through things outside of session, it's very different than how I work in session because I really want to help people experience each other differently. And so in session, what I would want to help people do is recognize their armor and recognize, right, your partner who has that very strong black and white idea of what repair is. Well, that means that they're trying to stay safe in some way, right? Like those black and white rigid beliefs are there for a reason. So I would help track it and I would help open it up and I would also help take in your partner's intention, maybe in a less direct way, and help both people kind of hold both intention and impact. But one thing that I think is so crucial, one of the biggest skills I think couples can have is recognizing your partner's good intent and naming it. So, fights, like Gottman's talk about, a soft startup. One of the best ways to start up a conversation is to recognize that your partner is a good person and what is it that you need,
Yeah.
right? Like I can say to my husband, honey, I know you have been working so much and you're really stressed out. And would you mind doing the dishes later? That's going to go over so well that if I just say, do you mind doing the dishes later? Like
Yeah.
one is relational. One is recognizing you as a person.
Yeah.
The other one is just one clear message. You're disappointing me.
And what is that? And to be on the receiving end of that, it feels awful. It goes into shame.
Hmm.
I'm not good enough. I never will be good enough. Or this is the 10th time now this has happened this week, and there's a lot of
Right.
scorekeeping, and it just becomes like you're now fighting each other instead of fighting the thing or fighting for the thing. And
Hmm.
I think like I love that you were able to break that down as well. I don't want to say that I'm a coach because I like to say that I'm a companion, because for me, I want to be on the journey. I want to know
Mm.
what your love language is. I want to know what your attachment style is. I want to
Hmm.
know what you're, whenever you feel uncomfortable, what you need, so that we can get
Hmm.
through a conversation, right? So
Hmm.
I want to know all the things. But sometimes I'm like, I just wish that they knew this one thing. Do you have one?
Sometimes I wish people would recognize their attachment strategies.
Yeah.
And I think that how your partner experiences you is different than you experience you, and being open to that. Like, if we can all kind of hold that, okay, I experience me this way. I have to be open to how my partner experiences me. Otherwise, I'm never going to be able to really have empathy or self awareness. And the truth is, I experience myself very differently than how my husband experiences me sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that's been the biggest shift for me is, how am I creating the situation? What is my responsibility here? How am I
Mhm.
behaving when I'm angry, sad, overwhelmed, frustrated, resentful? Because it's not gonna sound all nice like I think it is. It's gonna have some
Right.
eye rolls. It's gonna have some hoof and some flaring hands. It's not gonna be
Right.
this calm, playfulness is not, I mean, that playfulness does get, I think I get too playful sometimes. But yeah, it's different because like sometimes my daughter will tell me, when you get angry, the look in your eyes feels like I'm being cut into five different
Mm-hmm.
pieces. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not an easy thing to sit there and hear, like, this is how I
Mm-hmm.
behave, but it's important. And it's important
It
to
is.
see how, if I'm angry and I'm yelling, and my partner grew up in a household where it was a lot of noise, their whole nervous system is just in like freeze or
Mm-hmm.
fawn or whatever it is that they do. And then if they're a people pleaser, again, I hate using these terms because I don't want to intellectualize or
Mm-hmm.
make it labely.
Mm-hmm.
These labels have just allowed me to get to understand me better, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a pathway. But if that's the case, then that person is now sacrificing themselves, abandoning themselves to make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go in knowing, when I'm angry, I may need the space to just vent, and asking if you have the capacity rather than just blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
These are like little ways that we can really join in union and not just, throw it all away. Yeah. I do
Absolutely.
agree with that. Is there anything that you would like to talk about that we just haven't covered?
That's a good question. I think maybe the difference, maybe one thing just to touch on is, people leave their relationships a lot because they feel unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true, and people should leave if their relationships are unsafe. And can you differentiate between unsafe and in repair mode, right?
Mm,
Because I think that repair mode often feels unsafe. And I also, at the same time as I say that, like, that's for me how I want to do relationships. Other people don't want to do relationships that way, and that's okay too, right? Like, they don't want to have to work through the hard. Or maybe they only want to work through the hard up into a certain level. And that's okay too. I personally really want to work through the hard and grow and learn. And so I've had to really be patient and look for movement versus relief or versus safety.
yeah. I really like that because when we talk about, let's say you and I get into a disagreement, and if you weren't patient to say, well, let me look at this from a different opportunity or a different
Hmm.
perspective, then we don't get that chance to co-create together. But when I move away and I don't, to support what you're saying, I relate heavily to it. And I think that's such a magic way of looking at relationships. What do I want, what do I want to bring to this relationship, what do I want
Hmm.
from it too? It's such
Hmm.
a powerful thing. What are some things that you have upcoming that people can look forward to?
Hmm. Upcoming. Well, I'm working on a relationship app right now.
Ooh, I love it.
It's really hard. I'm not technological, but I'm using like a platform that helps you build it. And it's to help you slow down in hard moments and understand what's going on inside of you better and communicate it to your partner so
Mhm.
that it doesn't have to come out sideways in yelling or in stonewalling or in all the different ways it comes out. Other than that, I'm active on Instagram. I love having conversations like these, have these kind of spontaneously, and I blog.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, I'm gonna need to get all. Would you mind sending me your information about your blogs and your Instagram as well, so that I could
Sure.
put it in the show notes? I'm excited for your app. I've always
Thank you.
wanted to have an
It
app.
might be 5 years, and by then, 10 different apps may have come out. So we'll see. But it's fun to think about, and it's a fun
Yeah.
project. I love this work. So
Yes.
for me, I enjoy it.
Yeah. I feel like it's not so much work, it's an embodiment. It's
Hmm.
a natural embodiment. I feel like once you cross over into relational intelligence, you just can't go back to anything else but learning how to be in connection with other people and learning
Hmm.
other people. I think it's such a beautiful experience. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
I'm starting my relationship repair language workshops, and I'm really excited about it because I feel like it really is a chance to give people the opportunity to understand what their needs are and how to get through those tough conversations in the moment.
Hmm. Hmm. It's so important to be able to repair with everyone in our lives.
Yeah. I didn't like that feeling of regret.
Hmm.
It's a good teacher, and remorse and regret, and they taught me how unaligned I was with myself, and
Mm-hmm.
how I just didn't like how I behaved or how I treat people. But I was never that person to say this isn't something that we can come back from. So
Hmm.
whenever I meet people who are such hard cutoff, it's like, wait a minute, what is happening here? My nervous system goes crazy and I don't know how to behave in those moments. Well, I do, but
Hmm.
it takes a lot of self-soothing.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Did you think that before we wrap up,
Hmm.
I do you I don't know how to ask this in a different way. I find that co-regulation can be very sexy for couples.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, 100 times yes. When my husband is there for me and present, like my body melts.
Yes, it's
Absolutely.
and I guess there's those terms that we heard like, makeup sex or whatever, but this is a whole different ball game. It's like
Yeah.
the the depth of the intimacy is so connecting. I wish I had better words.
Yeah, I think it's almost like it allows you to drop out of your head. And our head, when we're in our head, we're slightly protected. It allows you to put down your protection.
I agree. I agree. Oh my gosh. Well, I would love to continue talking. I would love to continue this conversation. I really
Me
like your
too.
work. I believe in relational repair so much, so I'm glad that I had a
Mhm.
chance to talk with you. If there's anything that I can do to support you, please let me know. I'm happy to champion you and scream your name everywhere.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because this is important work. It's not that yeah, I think you
It's a
know what I
calling.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it sounds like we've both suffered a lot. And when you've suffered, you don't want other people to have to suffer in the same way.
yeah. And it's hard to want more for people than they want for themselves too. It's like,
Hmm.
I want you to see that relationships can be beautiful even when it's hard,
Hmm.
but that's not my way to force it. But how else can I share the joys of being in relationship? Because I've experienced what it's like to repair. I've experienced what it's like
Hmm.
to um, get get redemption and have a
Mm-hmm.
chance to do it differently, and that it's so beautiful. It's worth it. It
Mm-hmm.
certainly is worth it. Not in the self-sacrificing way, but certainly worth it to put the effort in and try to at least try to make it work, so to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking your
you.
time to have this conversation with me. If anyone's listening right now and anything that we have shared resonates, go stalk, not in a bad way, Hannah. I will put all of her information, and if something that we spoke about reminds you of someone, or you think someone needs to hear this, share it with them, send it to them, and join our conversations. And we will
Mm.
see you on the very next one. Thank you so much.